You're scrolling through your phone. It's an endless feed of curated lives, political outrage, and bite-sized wisdom. You feel that familiar pang of anxiety, that sense of being measured and coming up short. You see the deep divides in society, the angry slogans, the feeling that everyone is just shouting into their own echo chamber, and you can't help but wonder, is this really what progress feels like? That exact feeling, that digital unease, the political exhaustion, the crisis of meaning, was predicted with unnerving accuracy by a deeply controversial philosopher over 140 years ago. The key to understanding our most modern problems might just lie in the radical and often dangerous ideas of a man who declared that God was dead. Today, we're not just talking about Friedrich Nietzsche. We're holding his philosophy up as a mirror to our world in 2025 to ask if his ideas are a vital tool for our times or a relic we should have left behind. For many people, the 21st century feels like being set adrift. The big stories that once gave life a sense of meaning, things like religion, national identity, or a blind faith in progress, don't seem to hold up anymore. Nietzsche saw this coming. His most famous and most misunderstood declaration wasn't a cheer for atheism, but a deep cultural diagnosis. God is dead. He meant that the very foundation of Western morality, built for centuries on a Christian God, had eroded. Science and reason had chipped away at that bedrock, and he was worried about what would happen next. Without that divine compass, what guides our values? This is the question that haunts 2025. You can see its shadow in the quiet rise of nihilism, not just as a philosophy, but as the lived experience of meaninglessness that can seep in from endless consumerism and shallow online interactions. It's that nagging feeling that life lacks a real purpose. You can also see it in our politics. When we can no longer agree on shared truths, all that's left is a battle of perspectives, a fierce polarization where every side insists on its own version of reality. Nietzsche's work gives us a powerful lens to understand a world of populist politics and social media, a world struggling to find meaning when all the old signposts are gone. Nietzsche didn't just predict this problem, he gave it a name. He warned about the rise of what he called the last man. Picture someone whose only goal in life is comfort, security, and a steady stream of small, easy pleasures. The last man avoids risk, shuns great challenges, and is afraid of anything that might disturb their contentment. They have their little pleasure for the day and their little pleasure for the night, as Nietzsche put it, but have lost the ambition for anything greater. Does that sound at all familiar? Does it echo a culture that often seems to value convenience and entertainment above everything else, where we'll choose the digital version of an adventure over the real thing? This last man is the product of what Nietzsche called herd morality. He argued that traditional Western values, pity, humility, self-sacrifice, weren't divine truths at all, but a kind of clever invention. In his genealogy of morality, he claimed these values were created by the historically weak and oppressed as a form of imaginary revenge against the powerful. By framing the traits of the strong, like pride, ambition, and strength, as evil, and their own traits of meekness and obedience as good, they built a moral system that tamed the powerful and made mediocrity the goal. This morality, Nietzsche said, is fundamentally life-denying. It suppresses the very instincts that lead to creativity, greatness, and true self-development. It's a critique that forces us to ask a tough question. Are our values really our own, or are they just inherited ideas designed to keep us safe, comfortable, and part of the herd? If the last man is the symptom, what was Nietzsche's proposed cure? This is probably his most radical and dangerously misunderstood idea, the Übermensch. Often translated as Overman or Superman, the Übermensch is not a fascist dictator or a member of a master race. Those were ideas his anti-Semitic sister tragically pushed by twisting his work after he died. Nietzsche himself hated nationalism and would have been horrified by the Nazis. The Übermensch isn't a person, but a goal. It's a symbol for an individual who has overcome the human, all too human, limitations within themselves. It represents someone who rejects the comfort of the herd to create their own values. This isn't a free pass for selfishness. It's a call to a much harder path. It means becoming the author of your own life, embracing struggle and finding meaning not just in pleasure, but in the act of overcoming adversity. The Übermensch is the answer to the question Nietzsche asked after declaring God's death. Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? The engine that drives this transformation is another key concept, the will to power. Again, this isn't about the brute force desire to dominate other people. Nietzsche saw the will to power as the fundamental drive in all living things to grow, expand, strive, and overcome resistance. It's the feeling of your own power increasing, of meeting a challenge and conquering it. For a person, this is the drive for self-mastery, for becoming who you truly are by constantly pushing past your limits. In a world where so many of us feel powerless, Nietzsche's message is that real power isn't about controlling others, but about mastering yourself. So how do these 19th century ideas connect to our hyper-digital, politically divided world of 2025? The parallels are pretty startling. Look at technology. The relentless push of big tech companies for innovation, for market expansion, for data can be seen as a perfect example of the will to power. They are constantly trying to overcome limits and reshape our world. But for us as individuals, technology often pushes us in the opposite direction, toward becoming the last man. Social media can create a digital herd, where we chase validation through likes and conform to whatever trend is popular this week. The curated, artificial versions of ourselves we post online can be a way of hiding from the authenticity Nietzsche called for. And then there's our politics. Nietzsche's critique of the herd is incredibly relevant in an age of intense political polarization. He warned against the simplistic, unthinking nature of the crowd, something we see every day in partisan echo chambers, where any kind of nuance gets shouted down. Nietzsche might say that our constant need to react to and criticize our opponents actually chains us to them, stopping us from ever creating something new. His philosophy doesn't give you a political party to vote for, but it does challenge you as an individual, to think beyond your tribe, to question the beliefs on your own side, and to resist the pull of mass movements that demand you think like everyone else. Nietzsche leaves us with one last, almost terrifying thought experiment, the eternal recurrence. Imagine a demon creeps up to you in your loneliest moment and says, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more, and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy, every thought and sigh must return to you." How would you react? With horror? Or would you fall to your knees and call the demon a god? This isn't a theory about the universe, it's a psychological test. It's the ultimate question of whether you can affirm your life. Could you say yes to your life exactly as it is, with all of its joy and its suffering, if it were repeated for all eternity? The goal is to live in such a way that you would not only bear this repetition but actually love it, a concept he called amor fati, the love of one's fate. It forces you to take every moment seriously, to build a life that you yourself would see as worthy of being lived forever. Nietzsche doesn't give us any easy answers. His philosophy is like a hammer, meant to shatter our comfortable illusions. He challenges us to face the biggest questions there are. How do we live in a world without absolute meaning? How do we resist conformity? And how do we create values for ourselves? His ideas don't just feel relevant in 2025. They feel more necessary than ever. They are a powerful antidote to the sense of mediocrity and meaninglessness that haunt modern life. So, what are your thoughts? Is Nietzsche's philosophy a dangerous path toward elitism, or is it a vital toolkit for individual freedom in the 21st century? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if this exploration gave you something to think about, please hit the like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and share this video with someone who isn't afraid to ask the big questions. In the end, the mirror Nietzsche holds up reflects one profound challenge back at us. It's not just about what we believe, but about how we live. He asks us to be more than just spectators in our own lives, more than just comfortable members of the herd. He calls on us to be creators, the poets of our own existence. So the final question isn't really whether Nietzsche is still relevant. The real question is the one he forces us all to ask ourselves: are you living a life you'd be proud to relive for eternity?